Well, let's talk about the event. You talked about it a little bit. So we are doing this blind. We'll do the 2 round blind thing. We didn't put ABVs on here because when we're talking about official bottlings versus independent bottlings, the ABV can sometimes be a dead giveaway on that. But let's dive in. These are in pairs, so we have 4 different distilleries here. So we're blinding them all. Let's dive in with number 1 and see what we think.
Hmm. Bit pale in color.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of buttery on the nose to me, like
Buttery's a good call.
buttered corn.
Yeah, almost like a caramel popcorn.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep. Touch of like orange in there, tangerine.
yeah, yeah. It's a little grassy.
Yeah, Grassy's a good call. I did get some spice on there, but it could be just because that was my first sip after having lasagna. So
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was peppery, and then I'm like, oh, maybe it's the peppercorns from my steak.
no, there is a pepperiness with the grass there.
Yeah,
Um, some soft fruit in there. I would yes, this is on the lower alcohol side. I could be wrong.
no, it feels, I think you're right. It feels like in the low 40s, mid 40s somewhere. Just really
Mhm.
easy, pretty little whiskey.
So for this tasting, it's you guys feel free to chime in with your thoughts on this. Samhiri says, "Damn, that's a hell of an entry level whiskey." Hopefully, what this will do, I don't know if Harmony's like this, but I'm very snobby when it comes to official bottlings. I tend to foo-foo a lot of official bottlings out there. Um, just because they are at 40 or 43 or 46% alcohol. 46% alcohol now seems low after trying so many different cask strength whiskeys over the years. But hopefully doing this blind might give us a little bit of appreciation, or me at least a little bit of appreciation of some of the official ballings out there. But we shall see.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. And one of the tastings that we did somewhat recently that opened my eyes to my bias of that was when we did a Glenmorangie tasting. I don't know if it was a sherry tasting or what exactly the
Mhm.
lineup was, but we poured the La Santa. And I remember even Kurt saying, like, wow, what a nice whiskey. Like, what a really
Mhm.
nice whiskey. I see why people like really dig in and stick with this as their go-to. But yes, as you said, we get hung up on the cast strength and the colors and just the availability and
Yeah.
the limited access to the IB bottles. We kind of forget what kind of gems are out there,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
that there's a reason that they're part of their core and part of the brand. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for this lineup.
Yeah. Jeff says he foos Diageo in general. You're definitely not alone there, Jeff. Uh, I'll join you on that march. But yeah, it's a lot of us on the whiskey side of things, and a lot of you guys on the whiskey side of things too. We are very much spoiled for choice when it comes to what we get access to in Alberta and at Kensington Wine Market. But working at Kensington Wine Market sometimes takes that even to another degree, where I can say to people, my favorite whiskey I get that I taste is the next one.
Right.
Um, where I get more excited about the new and the different than I am about the regular bottling that comes in and goes on the shelf again. Um, but yeah, this is a nice light dram to start, as Lars says. Easy drinking, smooth, not a super long finish or anything like that, but pleasant.
It
Um,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's try number 2, which is likely from the same distillery. Let's see if it has share some DNA to it. Maybe it'll give us a bit of an idea of where it maybe comes from. No peat so far.
Yeah.
No peat
Very
on the
nice
nose
of
on this
us to
one.
start us off with Pete.
We should have. We should have just started with Octomore and like worked backwards just for kicks.
That would actually be fun.
Lars says reminds me of Glencaddam 10. Interesting call. It does have a lot of that sort of creamy vanilla note that Glencaddam does.
Yeah.
Definitely leading with some fruit on this one. Not as much tangerine, more into like poached pear for me right now.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Pear and like stewed apples.
Yeah. Touch of
Almost
pineapple.
cool.
Yeah, Noel, Noel, the order is 1, followed by 2. Next up is 3. Oh, Sammy beat me to the punch there. Thank you, Sammy.
Yeah. But I
Yeah,
mean, maybe we do need to slow it down for Noel.
that's right.
He was late, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has a little bit of the spice on the palate. I can smell on the nose on this one.
Yeah. There's almost like a lemon balm slash like slight soapiness to it.
Mhm. It also feels slightly more muted on the nose than the
Hmm.
first one did, even though we're able to pick out these notes.
Mm. Definitely a little bit, I would say a higher ABV palate wise.
Mm. Brennan, you're
Mm.
right. It feels like the nose and the palate got switched.
Yeah.
So the palate on this is more buttery and soft, and the other one, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. But I feel like
Well,
this is more tropical. Like we're getting
for
pineapple
sure.
big time on the palate, and it's just I'm salivating these fruit notes.
Yeah, it's interesting actually going back and forth on the nose on this one because the nose is definitely more muted on number 2 for me.
Mhm.
I would guess it's higher ABV and on number 2, and sometimes that higher ABV does come with the downside of making the nose a little bit more closed off and tight, especially that if you've just poured it. Sometimes, well, don't say, tell Andrew that water opens things up, but sometimes adding a few drops of water on something cast strength will jostle it around a little bit and allow other notes to come out on the nose. I haven't added water yet. I might for this one just for kicks, but yeah, definitely going more tropical on the number 2 there.
Yeah. I added a drop of water, and that buttery creaminess of the nose on the first one starts to come through on this.
Yeah. Reminds me of macadamia nuts, but it also has like just a little bit of like an agave note right now. Agave spirit note on it for me,
Oh, interesting.
like citrus and grassy
Yeah.
with water.
Yeah. Lars says number two is much
Ooh,
better with water. Oh yeah, it really
big time.
changes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the spice is still there. It comes in after the fruit has a bit more of a chance to have its say though, on the palate, which is really neat. Lots of pears and pear drop notes. Cool dram.
Mhm.
How is number 1 going back to it and having a quick sip after number 2? Still pretty pleasant, like definitely lighter palate wise, but
Very
doesn't
similar.
completely disappear. Yeah, it does definitely have some similarity to it.
I feel like since you said those agave notes, I find that more on the palate of the first one now than I did on the
Oh,
second one. So I don't know
that's
if it's
cool.
mind games or if it's just the spirit, but
Could be.
yeah.
Well, let's stick to the blind. Let's go into number 3 for second pairing, distillery wise. Pretty much the same color as number 1. I would say number 3 on it looks like.
Yeah. It's got a little bit of vanilla,
Yeah.
soft fruits. Feels
Yeah,
like
creamy custard notes, I would say for me. Yeah.
I'm it's feeling like it's reminding me of number 3 in the way that the nose is more muted.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's not really jumping out at me the same
Yeah,
way.
it's very pastry like, or like not pastry, but like sweet notes, like going into icing sugar and cake fondant.
Yeah. Sammy says it smells like Kellogg's factory where I grew up with roasted cereals. And
Nice.
Brendan, I'm really glad that you're about to say this. Does coconut and rub ester sunscreen exist?
It should.
This is what I imagine that smelling
Yeah.
like. And I agree, like there is a little bit of that estery. To me, I totally remember what this is. And it has often this distillery can give off to me a little bit of like estery notes slash
Cool.
even agave notes. Um, and then I'm just getting that from this.
Yeah, Brendan, coconut rum ester sunscreen happens when you are super drunk and you accidentally spill your pina colada on yourself. That's that's
And then
that's how
like,
you get the rum coconut ice cream or sunscreen, pardon me. Yeah. Yeah, Jeff totally agrees. Jeff, you're on fire. You're just beating me to everything right now.
he's all fired up from the
Yeah,
in-person tastings of last
yeah.
weekend.
Who knew, Jeff and Sam, that typing was faster than talking?
Yeah, all right. Ooh, it's got
Wow,
some heat.
difference. Yep, definitely some heat. A little bit of fruit comes out on there, almost going into fruit cup territory, and uh, the apple yogurt from like the golden apple yogurt from, is it Yoplait that does it? The one with that, or the green label. I think it's an apple pear yogurt if I remember correctly.
Oh, I've not had that.
Yeah, Derek says higher ABV in the first two. I kind of think so too. It even has a bit
Here.
more weight on the
Yeah,
palate.
I can feel it inside that it has more. Um, canned
A little
pears
bit
and
of
maraschino cherries. I agree with you, Sammy. I get the
good
cherries for
call.
sure. Yeah. But even
Yeah,
that like
cherries is a good call.
that fruit cup syrup
Yeah.
that they put in.
There's still kind of goes coconutty and into like marzipan uh slash like almond paste notes for me.
Yeah. There's like a hint of like a saltiness here too.
Hmm. Hmm.
For me. Get a little
Well,
bit of like damp, damp wet wood.
I might add water to that one, but I'm gonna try it up against number 4 first.
Great. Number 4. Ooh.
And hopefully it looks like I wonder if it's happened to anybody else. Mine is actually my number 4 is not blind. They put the whoever stickered it put the reveal sticker on top of the blind sticker.
That was totally me. I did that
Yeah,
a couple times during the process because I was labeling them
nice.
at the same time and I thought
Oh,
it
we
caught
do.
them all.
Yeah.
Um,
So the problem with doing a blind tasting is you have to label everything twice then.
yeah. This to me has like a really nice kind of toasted creme
Yeah.
brulee, brown sugar,
Brown
caramel.
sugar and even into like espresso, a fresh
Mm.
espresso note for me. Even into like going into tiramisu.
Yeah, and I was gonna say the liqueur 40, what is it? 43, 46,
43, yep.
43. It's got a little bit of that in here.
Yep. Yeah, a little bit of Frangelico, the hazelnut liqueur as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this number 4 is I think there seems to be a bit more dark fruits in behind there, like just a slight currant note and going into blackberries for me. Oh wow. Um, Wow, that is some dense, dark fruit notes in there. Lots of blackberries on the palate. Currants again, almost going into cassis territory. Even into like a Chambord
Yeah,
on the palate.
yeah.
Tom Rand says molasses. I totally agree. Even into some licorice notes that you sometimes get with
Yeah,
molasses.
thank you. Yeah, I was gonna say the licorice notes as well. Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, that's boozy Christmas
Really
cake
cool.
right there for me, which is kind of the MO for this distillery in some cases. Well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna,
Yes.
since they
Lars
both seem to be
asked,
relatively high ABV, sorry.
yeah. I was just Lars was asking if 3 and 4 are related. Yeah, and the answer is yes. The
Yeah,
way that we line these
yeah,
up is that the first two are the same distillery, this 3 and 4 same distillery, 5 and 6 same distillery, 7, 8 are the
yeah.
same distillery. So
I
doing
gotta,
that
I gotta,
comparison back and forth.
yeah, I gotta say too, Lars, along with what you're saying, um, I do know what number three is. I kind of remember what it is, but the nose was actually shocking for me on based on what it is. It was not the nose I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've added a bit of water for to number 3 and 4 just so I can go back and try them now.
All right, I will 1 drop in each. And I did the Evan trick. I held back some whiskey for the second round. I
Smart.
can top it off.
Yeah, numbers 3 is nice. I don't think it changes a lot with water for me. Gets rid of some of the heat, a little bit more of like a brown sugar, sort of like apple pie note to it on the palate.
I find with water, it reveals a little bit more of a chemical note that I didn't find
Hmm.
the first time. Almost
That's fair.
like a pen, your ink fountain pen, a little bit.
Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good call. Man, the
And
number
number
4 is
4
going
is like
into
chocolate and
yeah,
coffee and
yeah, and so many like purple fruits. It's going into with just a few drops of water. It's the blueberry IHOP pancake syrup now on the nose.
I'm getting a lot of like black plum, black cherry,
Mhm.
yeah, blackberry,
Man,
yeah, very
that
cool.
is
Like
if there
prunes.
was such a thing as a cask strength liqueur, that is what it's like cask strength creme de cassis on the palate.
Hmm. I think that could spice up a lot of
Big
cocktails.
time. Yeah.
But also would be very, very dangerous because I imagine the ABV on that's a little bigger
Yeah.
than a typical creme de cassis.
Yeah. All of a sudden your Kir Royale is at 30% alcohol for the whole glass.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Super leathery on the finish too.
Mhm.
That is that is a pretty cool bottling, in my opinion.
Yeah, very cool.
Jeff asks, is there a market for cask strength liqueurs? Not typically, although Andrew texted me a photo of something that he had seen someone taste overseas, and it was a higher strength version of the green chartreuse, which is already pretty high strength and
Ooh,
barrel aged at that. And apparently it's like quite expensive and only gets sent to restaurants. But uh, green Chambord is an acquired taste, but it'll cure what ails you if you have an ailment, that's for sure.
yeah, it better.
Yeah. Let's go on to number 5.
Right. Oh, I smell a little bit of peat.
Yeah, there is a bit in there. Ooh, that nose is nice. It's I said apple pie on number 4. I'm getting that again, or number 3. I'm getting that again on number 5.
I could see that. There's also some like mustiness in here that's
Yeah.
quite nice.
Hmm. Yeah, this is like apple pie or pear pie with like graham cracker crumble and some brown sugar on top. Jeff says he's wishing the IBOB thing was more obvious. Do you mean in how we were advertising this, or in how you can't tell which is which so far easily, Jeff? Ah, yeah. I totally agree. Like that was my biggest worry with doing this tasting is that like the IBOBs would be so obvious and just be so bland and boring. But this is the great thing about blind tastings is it gets rid of a lot of preconceived notions that we have and biases that we have as well. And like I
And,
said, I'm very guilty of it.
and biases that we preach also, like all
Yeah,
the time.
absolutely.
But the funny thing is, without the OBs, we wouldn't have fallen in love with those spirits to
Yep,
begin with, to desire them through the IBs, right? Like
yep,
we're always looking for that signature that leads us back to that OB bottle, but we just want it to be
yep,
better. We want it to be different, but
yep,
ultimately we're still searching for that first sip experience of that spirit. We're like,
absolutely.
oh wow, that was so great. I remember my first
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah,
But
falling in love with independent ballings is definitely you tend to go into a little bit of chasing the unicorn or chasing the dragon,
yeah.
where you're just constantly trying to recreate an experience that's unrecreatable in a lot of ways.
Mhm. This is nice. This has got like some nice like toffee and
Mm.
honey and
The peak comes out on more on the palate,
mhm,
almost into like a railroad tie creosote coal fire
mhm.
smoke note.
Oh yeah, definitely. And if on that railroad, I imagine that the irons are hot and we're melting some chocolate next to it.
Yeah,
A little bit of
yeah, that's a good call.
melted burnt chocolate.
Yeah, that's tasty. It's a little bit drier than I figured it would go.
Hmm.
Might
But
be
I
due to
mean,
age.
hmm, yeah, it's not overly
Lars,
heated,
yeah.
but
Well,
it's
so it's going to be interesting with the next one, Lars, because with this distillery specifically, I have had independent ballings from it that don't come off as peated at all until you actually get the peat on the finish more than you get it anywhere else.
mhm,
And there is a little bit of that on this too, where like inhaling and exhaling now and just chewing it, the smokiness comes out a bit more.
mhm. Yeah.
Let's try number 6. I am very happy with number 5 though.
I am too. I'm surprised by it. I like many of these
Yep.
odd number bottles. They've been very good. Oh, this smells great.
Yeah. This does seem a little bit more tightly wound.
Mhm.
Number 6 on the nose versus number 5 for me. A little bit more chocolatey though.
Yeah, it smells creamier than
Yeah.
number 5.
Yeah, almost into like a chocolate mousse.
Mm-hmm. And but you're still getting some like vanilla cream,
Yeah.
but also lots of fruit, lots of those sherried fruit notes.
It even has like for some reason, like fruit wise, it's reminding me of gooseberries.
Oh, cool.
Like something like a little bit more like the fruit's there, but it's not heavy, heavy notes.
I gotta say, I eat the gooseberries off the platter, but I don't smell them.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm in a hurry.
Maybe it's Sauvignon Blanc that I'm nosing. I'm not sure.
That would be an interesting finish.
Jeff pimping the Stillhead whiskey cream. I haven't tried it yet. Harmony has, I believe, and she said the same thing that it's worth getting.
It's so good. We should have a
Yeah,
bottle coming our way soon.
yeah, yeah.
Whiskey.
Stillhead. If you guys haven't tried it, it's a great Vancouver Island distillery, and some of their whiskey and I believe their whiskey cream will be coming to Alberta.
Mm,
Ooh, that's a big palate.
hmm
There's a real tanginess to that one. A lot of wood coming through as well, though.
hmm
Well, and
But like
again, like the
lemon
smoke and peat is
zest
coming out on the finish. Lemon zest is a good call.
and
Almost
like,
into grilled lemon territory.
yeah, and even like lime, sorry, orange zest,
Yep.
like they've taken like heated it up with some flame and then squeezed out the oils on it. And then you get this nice woody note, soft
Yep.
spices. The finish is not like number 5. It doesn't have that same
No.
breath of smoke and iron that you mentioned.
There is a bit of that again on the finish, but it's almost like you're chewing on an ember where it's like not super dry, but there's this heat to it.
Mhm.
And there's this smoke that sort of comes out when you're chewing on the finish. That's killer jam. I'm gonna go back to number 5 and nose and taste it again.
They don't seem to have that same
Yeah,
uh
DNA.
DNA like the first two did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Still get the apple pie and pear pie notes on the nose on with the brown sugar on number 5 there.
Number 6, after smelling number 5, has got like a little bit of like an olive brine, olive juice to it.
Good call. Mm. Almost into like a burnt brown sugar or burnt molasses note on the nose on number 6 again.
Mhm. I don't
Well,
think it needs
I
it,
love
but
that number 6. Number
yeah.
5 is really good, but I love that number 6. That might be my favorite pairing so far is to have those two together.
Oh, I like with a drop of water, I really like number 6. It doesn't
Nice.
need it, but it
Mhm.
also didn't hurt it for me.
I'll try that just for kicks.
And more fruit comes through.
Yeah, almost like a potpourri note comes through, like some dried flowers
Hmm
with water.
Yeah. But I
Mm,
would say for sure 5 and 6 are showing the biggest contrast. Um,
yeah,
yeah,
actually, I would say 3 and 4 were a bigger contrast for me, but
really.
yeah,
Oh yeah, and they're very different on the nose right now too.
yeah, it's like going from like almost ex bourbon to ex sherry right now on the nose for me for 3 and
Cool.
4. Well, let's try number 7 and number 8. Start with 7 here. There's a beat.
There's a little bit more.
Smoked applewood cheddar right now on the nose for
Mm-hmm.
me,
Oh, that's a
or even
great.
smoked Gouda.
I'm gonna stick with the cheddar because I don't like Gouda.
Jeff is worried that we poured a Lacheg.
Of course, we took
Probably even more
Jeff's
worried. Yeah,
idea. We took Jeff's
yeah,
idea for a blinded Scotch tasting,
yeah,
and we put in his favorite whiskey. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Jeff, they're actually all Lacheg. Just so you know.
It it definitely has a cheesy funk to it,
It does.
but there's
Yeah,
still
there's
some.
Lacheg is a distillery that gets it. There's another distillery that jumps out more for me that has this. Although I don't think it's that either. I can't recall what this one is, but oh, now I remember what it is. Yeah, cheese is kind of the MO
It's
for
part of
this.
the MO on this.
Yeah. But there are a few younger distilleries that get this as well. Jeff
Yeah.
says Brook Laddie. I was gonna say the one that I get the cheese on the most right now is Ardnamurchan. so many Ardent American bottlings, especially when peated, have this
Ooh.
cheesy note to it.
Interesting.
A little bit of like dog food, dry dog food in there.
Oh, that sounds so appealing.
Yeah.
Blue cheese and dog food? Yeah, sign me
Uh,
up.
yeah. Well,
And this is
wet
not
dog
the
food is
keg you're
just, yeah.
thinking.
Wet dog food is gross. Dry dog food's okay.
Yeah, dry dog food's fine.
Yeah.
There's a nice
Yeah.
saltiness to
Cheesy
it.
and fruity. Yeah. Salty. Definitely some peat in there. Salty to the point where there is a bit of brininess on there,
Yeah,
on the palate especially.
it's very bright for what it is.
Mhm. Let's try number 8.
More cheese, more cheddar, smoked cheddar versus Gouda on this for me.
This is like a fresher cheese though, like it's more creamy.
Yeah, but it also reminds me of like cheese balls, like your
Mhm.
Christmas cheese ball with some like nuts crushed on the outside.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, like Borson territory.
That's super fancy. I'm just, I'm just kidding. No, I'm talking like the real. My mom used to make cheese balls, and then
Mhm.
like crush nuts and herbs, and then roll the cheese in it.
Cool.
That's kind of what it reminds me of.
Ooh, Brennan says
Also,
number 8
this
tastes
like
like the most
vegetable.
easygoing Coroni, vinegary. Very cool.
Yeah,
Mm. Wow, that is like there's wood there, but it is very spirit driven. Very, very spirit driven. It does have some rum notes to it. Again, it goes into
it
tequila
does.
territory for me.
It's like a mezcal,
Yeah.
or actually, it's more like a raicilla, where it's like
Hmm.
cheesy and smoky at the same time, which I get a lot on some raicillas that I've had.
Yeah. Palate wise, it's almost going into like Asiago or even into like an aged Parmesan territory.
Yeah, I also get some like lemon
Hmm.
juice on there, and there's some apple like Granny Smith green apples. Like everything's very
Hmm.
sippy and zesty and kind of sour. And I agree with you, Brendan, a little vinegary at the same
Yeah.
time. Yeah, everything feels overripe, overdone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like a really it's almost into Cullen skink soup territory. If you've ever had Cullen skink soup, it's essentially like uh clam chowder, but with more green onions and leeks. Uh, got to get you to Scotland one day so you can have it at our big distillery Harmony. Um,
Very,
it's got this like throwing back raw oysters type of saltiness and sweetness to it.
yeah, yeah.
I've added a
Water,
few drops to both of these ones. Yeah.
water just makes it all tequila for me.
Hmm. I added a few drops of water to number 7 as well. The cheesiness, maybe it's because I've over cheesed my nose, if there is such a thing. But it seems to be I'm cheese blind all of a sudden. It's kind of blown off. Or it's gotten drier. It's into like the those cheese fish crackers.
Yeah. It's got like
The
a
cheese comes
baked
back on the
on,
nose, on the palate. Yeah.
it's to me, it's like cheese baked on a cracker. Like those nice crackers that you put in the artisanal
Hmm.
ones that you put in the oven to warm them up just a little bit, but you put like cheddar on it and you burnt the cheese on top, like your broiler was
Nice.
on. That's what I get on that.
Yeah. The palate's kind of like some sort of weird artisanal grilled cheese sandwich where it's like some sort it's probably Gouda on of some sort on the for the cheese. Maybe there's another mix in there, but there's also for them, if you're putting on meat, but you're not just doing bologna or ham, you're doing mortadella on there.
Very
And then on a
cool.
good sour bread. Maybe a little bit, and I'm not a mustard guy, but just a touch of mustard to dip it into.
With water on 8, it's a little bit more like celery salts on the nose.
Oh
There's more
yeah, good call.
green and vegetal notes.
And like that vinegar has gone into sour cream, like creme fraiche on the nose.
Cool.
Yeah, sour cream on the palate too.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, this is the nachos where you got just the fresco cheese on it and a jalapeno and some green onions.
Wow.
That was a pretty wild final pair.
Yeah.
Jeff is saying it's a weird Lechegger, not number 8 is no bueno. Tom concurs. Wow. I think we should just stick to listening to Jeff when he's speaking factual.
Oh, that's hilarious. I was thinking the
Yeah.
same thing. It's like when Eli and
Yeah.
Sean talk, and then Sean says something, and Eli's like, "Yeah, I agree with that." It's like, Eli, do you have an opinion, or is it just Sean's echoed? Or I'll ask Eli something. I'm like, Sean, don't answer. Let Eli talk.
Yeah. Okay,
Eli,
well we've got two before we go back for the second round and do the reveal, let's do the blind poll.
sweet. You were able to do that, hey?
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, it was that the blind poll was easy to put together. Um
How did you get that in order?
I
Wow.
know.
I know. Noel's
I,
gonna
I did
really
it in
be,
order just for Noel.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to so far for me, um
You choose.
there are a couple standouts. I'll wait and say what they are later. It was really fun to do. We'll have to do this again. I like the idea of doing like the same distillery side by side.
Mhm,
It's interesting how some like number 1 and 2, I think, kind of show the DNA that they share.
mhm,
Um, we'll see if that sticks like that going back to it. 3 and 4, maybe not so much. And then 5 and 6, I kind of think they do, but a lot of people seem to disagree with that, which is fair. 7 and 8, definitely, I would say, share DNA at this point
mhm.
too.
Yeah, I would say 5 and 6 feel the most distant to each other.
Mhm. Good word.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 1 and
I think
2
what's something
just still knows
super,
like really enticing.
I think something super interesting about this pairing is that I guess between the IB and the OB, they never really use the same cask finish. So I kind of wonder whether
Yeah.
this is actually how much the core spirit holds up against like the cask or the wood note
Mhm.
versus really what's in the DNA. So yeah, it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and
Good
I
point.
think like just going from what I recall, I think 1 and 2 and then 7 and 8 will probably be the closest cask wise. Actually, 5 and 6 will be closest as well. I still cannot figure out 3 and 4. What's going on there? It's going to be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, well, it looks like everybody's voted, so we'll end the poll and we'll share the results here and let's see where we're at. So some pretty clear winners for first favorite so far. Blind number 4, big one, number 6, a big one there for second place. And
Cool.
then tie for third between 3 and 8. No votes for number 7 there for first place. Kind of surprising. I think that might
So
shock people when we see
surprising.
what they are. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I do tend to agree with number 4 and 6. I think those are pretty cool drams.
they are.
Second place, number 6 takes it for second, and then a tie between 4 and 2 for the second of the second places.
That's cool. That
Let's
makes me happy.
Yeah,
Justify some of my store picks in the shop.
that's right. Well, and I think it'll probably be not a huge surprise as to which one's the OB and which one's the IB again,
Yeah.
just based on alcohol level. But let's talk about these and maybe start doing the reveal here. Let's go back to
Ooh.
number one. Before, well, strip it away if you want, but does anybody have any thoughts on what the distillery could be on this one?
Yeah. If you haven't checked, if you have,
Yeah.
don't do it. If I put your labels on
Tom
wrong.
says Glen something. Chris and Sarah say Clynelish. Clynelish notes to this one for sure.
Oh,
Brennan says Glen Murray. Could see that it does have some of the sort of honeyed fruit notes.
but we do have a winner in the chats. Somebody has
Yes.
picked it correctly.
That one does show really well. Like this
Mhm.
is not a bottle I've ever purchased.
Mm-mm.
It's kind of a bottle I've always foo-fooed as in like just boring and who cares. Blind, that's a pleasant dram. Like
It
that's
is very
something
nice.
I could have to share with friends and stuff like that. I wouldn't be upset if someone poured me a glass.
No,
It's
it's nice. It's
pleasant
got
and
a
tasty.
like
Yeah.
a little bit of a cinnamon finish on it right now for me. Just like a little kiss of cinnamon spice.
Ooh, good call. Yeah, cinnamon, it's like the cinnamon toast cinnamon where it's got sugar and cinnamon mixed. How's number two holding up?
Still delicious on the nose. It's gone more creamy vanilla.
It's leaning into pineapple and pear right now on the palate.
Pear for sure.
Oh, tasty stuff on the palate there.
Mm. I've loved this bottle since the first time I tried it, and I still like it. And sometimes you put things in a lineup and they don't shine the way you remember them. I'm happy that this one's still is still nice.
Absolutely. Let me see if I can bring that. So you guys can peel your labels on 1 and 2 if you want, just to see what the results are. So this is Glen Kenchi Distillery. Was it Sasha?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sasha got it right. I wouldn't have guessed what this was blind. I just don't have enough experience with this distillery for one thing.
Yeah, I would have never guessed it. But 12-year-old OB, really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that is, I feel bad about just kind of writing it off without really thinking about it up to this point, because that shows really, really well.
Yeah, and I think for me, one of the problems was when you're discovering new distilleries and you're like, oh, I want to go to the lowlands. Everybody's first thought is Auchentoshan. Just do Auchentoshan. They're great.
Yep.
And you don't think about the Glenkinchie sometimes. It's just not as popular. And there's also not 3 or 4 facings of it in any retailer.
Absolutely.
They just have the one. And so
Or the 2 if they have the distillers edition. Yeah.
if they have the distillers edition, and then on that, if you're not aware of what you're looking at, there's no age distinction. What am I looking at? Why does it cost more? And they just don't jump out as much. But this is really nice, and had a couple good kimchis over this year that have been very surprising.
Well, and this one is really cool. The second one, and this is purely in the lineup and it worked in the lineup just because how much you've talked about how good this bottling is, Harmony.
I love this bottle.
Yeah, it is killer, especially for that price. And
Yeah.
it doesn't say Glenkinchie on the label. I'm not aware of any independent bottling that I've seen that has Glenkinchie on the label. It just says a lowland distillery. We only know that it's Glenkinchie because the box said Glenkinchie on it, which probably it was strip labeled on the box as Glenkinchie. They probably didn't want us to know that. The Single Malt of Scotland. I don't think they were allowed to say anything about that, but they let it out of the bag. But cool to see independent bottled Glenkinchie at 13 years old and that cask strength.
Yeah.
And it does go to show that I mean, we were denigrating Diageo before this, and rightfully so. Glenkinchie is a Diageo owned bottle, distillery, sorry, but they don't seem to be messing around with the DNA so much if the single cask is sort of true to Glenkinchie's form. Both show really, really nicely for what they are.
Yeah, they're very yummy, very good. I'm glad we tried them side by side. That's very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, very nice.
Yeah, number one is a great share, and the number two is a great keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
I think is what it is. Okay, let's go on to 3 and 4. How are they holding up? Nose is pretty muted now on number 3 for me.
It smells oakier to me than it did the first time.
Yeah,
And maybe that's because I put water in it. I'll just top it off, Evan Styles.
yeah, it seems like very like an oversteeped cold tea on the nose for me.
Yeah.
Like just not showing much. Seems like it's gonna go bitter based on the nose. Some wood coming through there, some varnish. But it shocks me for what this is, that this is how it noses.
Well, I'm not surprised. I have found that this bottle has changed a lot over the years.
That is true. That's
Like,
definitely
I
true.
don't find there to be a lot of consistency with this bottling, and I don't know why exactly, but the more I know of it, the less I enjoy it, truthfully, on the nose and on the palate
Yeah.
than I did when I first had it.
How's number 4? Man, that nose.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So liqueur driven and jammy on the nose.
Jammy's a
Just
really good note. It is,
boozy Christmas cake.
yeah. And thick, it feels thick and heavy, like it's just gonna coat your whole palate.
Yeah. And it does a pretty good job of it. Like it's not crazy coating and cloying, but it's there. The finish is long. And it just goes into those blackberry and stewed fruit and plum notes in a great manner. Tom says 4 is over top for him. Yeah, I could see that. This is got to be like a sherry lover's dram. I would say.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
It's so sweet and so lush and so fruit driven that it doesn't feel like a scotch, other than that alcohol on the finish that is not going to come from your standard liqueur.
Absolutely. So this is if you guys want to, well, actually, anybody want to guess on the distillery before we do the reveal here?
Space Cider, says Tom.
Good call.
Very good. I mean, doesn't say that on the label, but he's not wrong.
Yeah, true.
All right. I think,
Glen Alecky is a good guess.
yeah.
Vincent's got it though. It is Glenfarclas Distillery. So the first bottling, number 3 is Glenfarclas 105.
Yeah.
So I remember writing this up for, it says here we used it in day 7 on the 2021 whiskey calendar. So that was 2 whiskey calendars ago. And kind of being disappointed, but not wanting to write about being disappointed. Just because I have a big love for Glenfarclas. They're part of the reason that I'm working in this part of the industry now. I moonlighted pouring Glenfarclas at festivals for a long time. Got to pour with George Grant a couple times too, which was really cool.
Yeah, that's fun.
But yeah, I would say this isn't the way it used to be, as Harmony was saying. It seems like to me there's some very tired casks in here.
Yeah.
Like it's just so spirit driven. You're not getting that typical like pleasant a lot of Glenfarclas gives you.
Mhm. But I do get like often agave notes from the Glenfarclas core range.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
and even our door crusher, I get agave notes on the nose. It's not on the palate, but it's got that kind of funky wood note.
Yeah. So this was probably the one that I was most excited about putting in as an OB versus IB, because you do not see Glenfarclas on independent bottlings. You don't see the name on independent bottlings. That almost never happens. Glenfarclas Distillery is famously highly litigious when someone else uses their name on a bottle. They protect the Glenfarclas name like a ravenous pit bull, essentially.
Hey, whoa. Let's say Chihuahua.
Okay, okay.
Don't stereotype,
But
okay.
this is actually an independent bottling that we got in that does say Glenfarclas on the label, which I
Yeah,
was shocked about. I don't know how they managed to do this. I don't know how the owner is still alive of this independent bottler, as far as I know.
yeah,
But yeah,
Ian.
I've had independent bottlings of Glenfarclas that I know are Glenfarclas just based on the code words that they use. And
Right,
SMWS bottlings because I know what the number is.
yeah.
Um,
Or I think
a lot of the time, like their Blair Findy is a code word for Glenfarclas Distillery. I've had a Blair Findy from Blackadder years ago. Their distillery number one codification wise from the SMWS, but they're almost always an ex-bourbon. But this is a North Star 11-year-old Glenfarclas vintage 2011, 56.5% alcohol from an Oloroso sherry butt. And man, I'm so happy. This is really good.
Mhm.
It almost, I don't think it's exactly like it, but it does go into sort of like family cask territory for the strength
Yeah,
and the complexity and the value of what you get for sure.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. And yes, as you said, it's so rare to see the name on the bottle. The closest I've seen recently of Glenfarclas being kind of notably is that Brave Spirits independently bottled Speyside, but it has a painting of the Glenfarclas distillery
That's right.
on the
That's right.
front, and that's what gives it away. But
Yeah.
like two
Well,
totally different drams here.
yeah. Years and years ago, Douglas Lang, back before it was a Douglas Hunter Lang split, when the two brothers were not speaking to each other, but still were, they famously had a slew of older Glenfarclas bottlings that were really, could get 40-year-old Glenfarclas independent bottlings, and they were always labeled as probably Speyside's finest or Speyside's finest on the label. And those I think were all Glenfarclas from what I recall.
Oh, cool.
Samuel Chen says they did a vertical tasting with his whiskey club of 105s from 2010 to 2020, decreasing complexity and viscosity. Yeah, that's
Ooh.
too bad.
Yeah, especially
Yeah,
because
the
they
door
they
crasher is good that we
they
have.
did that. Didn't they do just like an age statement 105 recently? It was like a 16-year, very small
Yeah,
release.
that one was good. Yeah.
Yeah, and that didn't last
The
long.
the 22-year-old 105 that they did about 2 or 3 years ago was fantastic as well.
Mm,
Before that, I think you would have been at World of Whiskey at the time. Do you remember the 20-year-old 105? So
no.
that they did a 20-year-old 105 that came out when I was at Willow Park, and that was an unimpressive bottling in my opinion. But the 22 and the 16 were both really good. Just about every family cask I've tried has been really good as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I really
the
enjoyed the family.
105 itself has definitely suffered. Maybe just from tired casks or using American oak sherry or something. I'm not sure.
I wondered that as well, if they changed
Yeah.
their program with the sherry market
Mhm.
changing. Yeah.
But man, the North Star, that's some good sherry.
Yeah, and I think North Star was just like very recently was voted Scotland's best independent bottler.
Mhm.
And yes, Ian Croucher's still doing it, but I find we don't have a lot of opportunity. We haven't had a lot of opportunity to try the North Star besides the initial North Star launch.
Yeah, yep,
Um, but some of his prices are quite high for some of the ages of the spirits,
mhm.
and I'm not sure exactly where the prices are coming from, if it's them or just the cost of getting small parcels over
Yeah,
here. But I haven't been disappointed with many of the North Stars. I'm not gonna lie. Some of the sherry casks are bigger than what I would normally reach for, but
yeah,
nothing bad.
yeah, for sure.
All
Let's
right.
go on to 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 right now on the nose. There's just no smoke or peat to it right now for me.
No. Got a little bit of like beechwood
Ooh,
notes.
good call. Yeah, still apple pie and pear pie for me.
Mm.
Now going to the nose, there's just a hint of peat coming through.
I get a little bit of grapefruit
Mhm.
with the sugar on top.
Yeah, could see that. Tom's got a guess there.
On guest.
So does Brennan. But you guys are pretty darn good.
Hmm. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, number 5 still tastes good.
It does taste good.
Oh, that nose on 6 though. Oh, on the palate on 6. That's just a killer dram.
Yeah, that 6 is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Again, I think that's my, although I did like 1 and 2 together, I think that's my favorite pair of whiskeys in the lineup, which makes me happy because I've been kind of uh off put by the recent bottlings of number 5, just because I don't think they're as good as they used to be. But as people guessed, this is Highland Park that we're talking about with this pairing. And number 5 is the official Highland Park 18-year-old.
Cool.
So it's currently on sale, which is a good thing because that price has just kind of gotten silly.
It's really silly. And like
Yeah.
a lot of core bottling prices have gotten really silly. But
Yeah.
on sale, it's not bad.
Yep. Yep. So 43% alcohol on this one. Highland Park, I don't know. I've got really fond memories of Highland Park 18 and the 12, where when I worked at the Calgary Patrolling Club, we used to go as a group to the Unicorn after work sometimes, especially on the weekends or after seafood night. And this used to be the Highland Park 18 year. I remember being able to get a double neat and it was like $12. Uh, and just being a fantastic dram. This is just at the point where they were switching from the old, more circular bottom bottlings into the newer style.
The wide
And
one.
yeah, apparently they were even better before that. But I feel like they just aren't as good as what they used to be. However, I think this Highland Park 18 is showing really, really nicely.
Mhm.
Still don't want to pay that price because I remember getting the $12 doubles. But
Yeah, that's a good.
it's good to see that it is a solid dram.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. It doesn't wow me, but there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And this was the fun one. This number 6 for me.
And
We've had
had
this in a
one.
tasting before. Yeah.
I don't know if it was the same release though, because we were just
Yeah,
talking about we've had different releases.
Yeah, I think this might have been a different one, but that makes me even happier because it means that at least between the two, the quality has been consistent because this is knockout, in my opinion. This is the signatory Orkney 18, so Highland HP in brackets there. 55% alcohol for this one from First Fill Oloroso Sherry Butt. And this is what, if you could get the old Highland Park 18 at cask strength, this is what it should be, in my opinion. This is just a great dram. And crazy that the price is less expensive than the non-sale price on the official 18.
Yeah, that is insane.
Yep.
Yeah.
But man, that's Signatory has just been killing it with their sherry bottlings recently. Even the less expensive British proof bottlings that we've gotten have been fantastic. But
Yeah.
this is exactly what I want. We had this in a lineup with the Macallan 18 and the Macallan 25 that they really, the Orkney 18 is better personally.
Yeah. This is just one more example of why I think that signatory 35th anniversary tasting should not be missed, especially,
Mhm.
I mean, for the age of those spirits and just the quality that they're putting out already. I don't know, can you overdo that type of sherry when it gets to 48 years old? Like, we'd have to find
Yeah.
out, but
Absolutely.
they
Well,
not overdo it.
they're like Highland Park is so fun in sherry just because there's just enough to the distillate and just enough peat there to make it so it's not just sherry and that's it. There's still plenty of nuances coming from the sherry cask mingling with the spirit, which is what I really enjoy. Okay, last but not least, let's see if Jeff is right about the Chegg here.
Well, I mean, Jeff's always
How
right.
are 6 or 7 and 8, pardon me, holding up?
Still stinky.
Still cheesy.
Yes, still cheesy. Very. They're both so cheesy.
Brennan says has to be Brooklady, right? Surely. Also, I rate 7 as the winner. Sam agrees. He sounds like Tom does as well. Tom is correct. This is Port Charlotte from Brooklady. Good call. Port Charlotte always brings those cheesy notes. I still think Ardnamurchan is probably a close second for cheesy notes right now, in a good way. I actually prefer, although I love peat, I actually prefer Ardnamurchan, which is typically lighter peat than Port Charlotte. But
Yeah.
Port Charlotte is pretty cool stuff as well. So for number 7, this is the official Port Charlotte 10-year-old, bottled at 50% alcohol, if I remember correctly, which is pretty cool.
Correct. Yeah.
In the new style squarish bottles.
Square. They're like round but black.
Well, square shouldered, I guess. Pointy shoulder. It's wearing shoulder pads.
Oh, I see. Yeah, and it's 1990s blazer.
Yeah, that's right. This is actually you weren't there at the time, but the pre-black uniform at the Calgary Petroleum Club. The ladies' uniform did have shoulder pads.
I bet it did.
Yeah, back
Doesn't
when I started
surprise
there
me.
in 2005, it was like this red top, the polyester, with shoulder pads, and it was ugly as sin, but my wife still looked good in it, so that's
Yeah.
probably why we got together.
Yeah. Without those shoulder pads, where would you be now?
That's right. That's right.
I always thought that was such a funny look for women. Like, let's
Yep.
beat up their shoulders.
Yeah,
You're at work, put them shoulder pads in.
that's right.
Yeah, this
Number
Port
8 is
Charlotte is
still
great.
so mezcal driven.
It is. It really is. It's fun. I like number 8.
Yeah,
What's number 8? Of course it is.
a little bit of chamomile tea there. This is a cool bottling, and I think it was Sean that was talking about really liking this one, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because I think, well, I have a pick on one of these. I don't know if it's this one or the 18.
Yeah, there's so yeah, this I'll share my screen. This is from Rest and Be Thankful. Pretty cool independent bottling that has a decent amount of Brookline and Port Charlotte independent bottlings, which you don't see a ton of.
Mhm.
And the price for Port Charlotte single cask is not horrendous, especially compared to what we've seen from like the whiskey agency and stuff for some single casks from them. But ex-bourbon barrel, or sorry, ex-bourbon hogshead, 57.4% alcohol on this one. Surprising that it is ex-bourbon, so spirit driven, as I said, like the wood's there, but it's the spirit that really shows on this one.
Yeah. I also like that we have some of the relationships that we do at Kensington Wine Market that we were
Yeah.
able to the previous releases of the Rest and Be Thankful, there was a lot of wine maturation that happened. And when they brought their new products to Canada, we said, like, we want to pick ex-bourbon casks. And so we got an exclusive on like 6 stellar Rest and Be bottlings that were
Including this
all
one.
ex-bourbon,
Yeah.
including this one, which just shows how beautiful and clean this spirit can be.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's I wonder how they get the cheese into Port Charlotte that they don't get into Octomore. It's like the Octomore, that the amount of peat there just inoculates that cheese note, I guess.
Maybe
Is
it's an
must be what
age
happens.
thing. Maybe it comes with
Could
age.
be.
Because
Could be. I remember even like PC5, I had a bottling of that, and that was like a crazy cheesy bottle too.
oh, interesting. Well, then now I don't know what it is.
Yeah, maybe it's spirit cut,
Mm,
but it makes it a very distinct style, which is really neat.
Yeah.
Well, that was our lineup. I was really happy with how diverse that was. Still
Yeah.
shocked mostly with 3 and 4. How only one comes off as Glenfarclas and it's not the OB.
Yeah.
But
That's so funny.
let's trigger the vote for the second round here. Now that we know everything, including pricing, does that change anything for anyone? So Harmony, while people are voting, what are
So
your 2 favorites? 2 favorites and then favorite pairing.
okay, so well, I mean, my favorite is still the single malts of Scotland Lowland. I just think that it's a very understated whiskey for a great price. And it just offers something different that you don't typically see in the lowland category, and I like that. And so that's my first choice. And to be honest, I'm all about the peat, but today they're not sitting with me as much as I would normally. So is it fair? Can I just say that like my favorites were 1 and 2 all around?
Cool.
I thought like 1 was great and 2 surprised me for just a standard OB bottling. Like it's something that I've never had before, and I'm not disappointed by it. So I look
Nice.
forward to just recommending it to people who are on their journey through single malt, or people who have been on their journey but are introducing new friends. It might be something to surprise the group with. And then my favorite pairing, if you exclude 1 and 2 as a pairing, I did find the contrast between the Highland Parks really fun.
Cool.
And so that would be my favorite pairing as far as like for diversity and just intrigue.
Cool.
What about you?
I'm not gonna pick one or two, but I gotta say, I'm really happy we had that one in the lineup. Number one is the biggest surprise for me, where I just
Yeah.
had the lowest of expectations for what that bottle could be, and was so surprised. And then number two is the better bottle between the two, but that Lowlands, I expected it to be good because you have been talking it up, and it does not disappoint. The fruit notes in there are just stellar.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the my favorite pairing are going to be the 5 and 6, just like you said. My favorite bottling is going to be number 6. I just love that Orkney. Brings back some really good memories, but amps them up to cast strength. And number 5, the North Star Glenfarclas. Again, I usually go for refill casks and stuff, but the two sherries there were just knockout.
Yeah.
Just great bottlings. Everybody's voted, so I will
Ooh.
share the results here. So the North Star Glenfarclas took it on the second time around.
Wow.
Highland Park 18 got 0 votes, probably because of the price. Which isn't surprising. Port Charlotte 10 still got no votes, which is kind of surprising too, in my opinion. I think that is a pretty good bottling, but you gotta love the cheese, that's for
Well,
sure.
and like I said, you put things in a lineup and they don't show the same way. Like I know
Yep.
so many people who would swear by, oh, I always have a bottle of Port Charlotte at home. And this group would
Mhm.
just say, like, no Port Charlotte for me here.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Signatory Orkney HP got the second highest votes, and then a pretty good spread for the second favorite of the night.
Wow.
The Lowland tied for second with the North Star Glenfarclas and the Orkney. And then who does it better, IB versus OB? No real surprise that the IB gets the most votes there. Gotta say, except for the 105 for me, I thought the
Yeah.
OB showed really well.
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, definitely glad we put the Glenkinchie in the lineup. Really glad to try the Highland Park 18 without having to spend that money. And see that although it might not be what it used to be, it still is a pretty good dram. So that's cool to see. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We'll have to kind of do this again with 4 different distilleries. We struggled a bit with the lineup because it is hard to find
Similar
independent
ages.
bottlings. Yeah, similar
Like,
ages for one thing, and
yeah.
also there's a lot of independent bottlings where we don't see official bottlings from that distillery,
That's
for
true.
better or worse. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, like there's no Longmorn available anymore. So you can find an
yeah,
OB Longmorn, but no overpriced IB or OB.
yeah, that's it's too bad we couldn't go back in time and get a 15-year-old, because that
Yeah.
the 15-year-old that used to be around was a pretty damn good dram, I recall. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the tasting. Hopefully you'll watch for when we do this another time, because we definitely will have to put this in the hopper for the future. Thank you, Harmony. Hopefully we'll see some of you tomorrow at the SMWS virtual, because we'll be doing it all again in about 24 hours from now.
Yeah. See you in 24.
Take care, guys.